Right, so there has been a rather frightening trend going on over the past week in regards to people's responses to the last episode of The Amazing Digital Circus, especially to Jax, and what happened to them in episode 9. Normally, I would keep this sort of thing to myself, but considering I don't want to record the biggest project I've ever undertaken for this channel with blocked nostrils, I'm making this video instead. So today, we're going to be taking a look at all of the reasons that trying to bring back Jax and the other characters from Abstraction is a horrible idea. Let's begin with what caused all of this to happen, and as is the case with most Digital Circus things, the answer is at least partially a post from Gooseworx. In this case, it's a drawing of Jax. If she wasn't a piece of, well, it might still be in the first 30 seconds of the video, so we aren't going to say that. This is the canon design for transgender Jax with long hair and this striped shirt, confirming the heavily implied idea that this is a closeted trans character in canon. The post also does something else and mentions the fact that Pomni would have the chance to interact with Ribbit and Kaufmo in this new reality where Jax's actions didn't push them both to Abstraction. Naturally, the internet was then flooded with comics and posts talking about this new scenario, but rather than simply making an AU where Jax was a better person, most chose to center the ability for new and old circus members to interact on the idea of someone somehow finding a cure for Abstraction. Some comics don't even stick with the trans Jax route and just allow him to return from Abstraction as he was in episode 9 because they simply want that to be the case. And this isn't a pattern restricted to the Amazing Digital Circus. No, you will find examples from pretty much every show ever of people bringing back their favorite characters from the dead. Now, I am not here to criticize these artists as people. They are all very talented to have made these comics at all, and wanting your favorite character to not be dead is a perfectly fine justification for making a comic. I will instead be attacking the idea of an Abstraction because I think that it reveals a fundamental media literacy problem. Now, long-time viewers of my channel will know that I'm not particularly fond of the idea of characters returning from the dead. In fact, a key point in some of my videos regarding Jay from Murder Drones and why she isn't a very well-used character is the fact that by allowing her to come back from the dead, you've essentially removed all the stakes in keeping her alive because it doesn't matter. Now, in Murder Drones, this means I don't care if her head gets cut off and hit for a single down the right field line, but the same logic applies in Digital Circus with Abstraction. The key issue surrounding the Digital Circus is that they can't be killed and are stuck here forever, so Abstraction must be used in place of the idea of death since they functionally have acted the same throughout most of the show. Specifically, as I pointed out in my last video, Abstraction occurs when a character loses all hope and essentially would commit suicide if they were able to. When looking specifically at Jax, his moment of lost hope occurs right here, when he can't find the courage in himself to talk to Pomni again, but it began to creep in after the end of episode 6 when they fight and break things off with each other. Then, whilst inside his mind, Jax is able to realize the mistake he made when Pomni comes up to him and hugs him. Despite everything he has done, he is still loved, and he realizes the mistake he's made in giving up on himself. The big emotional part of this, and the reason they're both so sad here, is because they both know that this is permanent. You can't bring someone back from the dead after they've committed suicide, and so you shouldn't be able to bring someone back after they've abstracted. Were this have been possible for Caine or anyone else to do, it would completely ruin all stakes in the show and make most of the back half of the series completely meaningless. Unabstraction is on the level of your 8th grade self writing, but it was all just a dream at the end of your creative piece and getting failed in English class. In such a character-driven show, the main thing that matters to the audience is the way that the characters interact with each other, and importantly, the consequences of those interactions. The Amazing Digital Circus does this very well in a nice piece of contrast to the world they're stuck in. While the adventures themselves mean literally nothing, and the world around them doesn't change at all up until episode 8, the things they talk about, say to each other, and the actions that they take in these adventures do have a significant impact on the other people they're trapped in this stagnant environment with. As Zubel and Gangle put it,
I wanted to be able to leave my mark somewhere in the world.
You've made a mark in my life.
Abstraction is the biggest impact that you can make on another person in the circus. Nobody will ever choose to abstract on their own. It will always be a combination of the forces placed upon them by other people. Again, drawing back to the suicide comparison, major depressive disorder or other conditions that may cause suicidal thoughts are not created in a vacuum, but rather are a consequence of the environment. In universe, the idea of unabstraction also makes no sense from a motivational standpoint for Caine. Caine is a very very misunderstood character by a lot of people watching this show, but he really has a single driving motivator when you get down to it, and that is wanting to be liked by humans. Humans are appealing to him because they're the one thing he can't make, the one thing outside of his potential, and that strangeness makes him want to be a part of their lives. Caine loves humans and is willing to do almost anything to keep them around. In fact, in their most recent merch teaser, it's revealed that Caine's biggest fear is all of the humans abstracting and leaving him alone. So then, if he at any point had the power to bring humans back from abstraction, why wouldn't he? So there you go, a couple of key reasons why the idea of unabstraction is harmful to the very core concepts of the amazing digital circus. I know this video is a little on the short end, but again, I am very sick right now, so I'm doing my best. If you do plan on making a comic or any other sort of media where the old and new circus characters interact, please just make an AU, or don't, I'm not your dad. But that's all I've got for today, thank you all for watching, and have a good one.